Hi everyone, this is Cheryl and this is my Ypifany YouTube channel. If you hear anything you like, then you can like and subscribe, and you can also tell people you know who may be interested in what I have to say. All right, so today is my birthday. I am 44 years old today, and later I'm going to go do some birthday stuff. But before I do that, I just wanted to make this video. Last night, I've been looking at various blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels, and things like that to try to help curate information that I can use on my platform, right? So that it's relevant to the things that you're doing and that I can tie to my work in learning and evaluation. So one of the things that I found, most people listening to this know who Marcus Buckingham is. Okay, now he has a YouTube channel called Marcus Buckingham TV. It's really good. I suggest you subscribe. He talks about really great things on there, and so I was looking at some stuff on his channel last night, and he's written a book or something about lies people tell at work. Okay. And there were two lies in particular that I actually love. I really, really do. A lot of them, I mean, some of them are really kind of controversial, which is why I love it. Anything that has some controversy and that really goes against the grain, and and you have some information and rationale to back that up, I'm all for it. Okay. So, two of the lies that he says people tell. The first one is, and this is lie number 5. If you go to his channel or pick up the book or something, so it's lie number 5. People need feedback. That's a lie, and I agree with him. I absolutely agree that that's a lie. I actually remember when I was speaking to somebody about creating an evaluation for her coaching program at not at the agency I worked in, but at a different agency. We were talking about that, and I told her, I said, well, we have to start with the fact that you cannot evaluate a person, okay? Which was like, what do you mean? You can't evaluate a person? Like, what am I supposed to evaluate if I can't evaluate a person? But it has a lot to do with what Marcus is talking about right here. And let me tell you. So he says, people need feedback. That's a lie. And 3 falsehoods that support that lie is that I am a source of truth about you. Okay. That's a lie. Okay. We feel like it's true. I can tell you something about you, but according to Marcus Buckingham, and I wholeheartedly agree, the idea that I am a source of truth about you is not true. The next falsehood: the way for people to learn is to fill up empty spaces that they have in knowledge and experience. Okay. I totally agree with that too, right? And this goes way back to, philosophers, Socrates, and, all those folks, how you don't teach anybody in anything. They just remember what they already know. Okay. So that's the second one. And the third falsehood, he says, is that excellence can be written down in advance, and then we can give you feedback about where you're missing the mark. Performance standards is basically what he's saying. Okay. So let me write down I haven't even hired you yet. Okay. But now let me write down what excellence is in this job. And now when you come here, when you're hired, you act and behave in a certain way. And I look at the standards that I've created and I give you feedback and let you know, hey, you're missing the mark, or you're right on, or you've exceeded, or something like that. Right. He's like, we need to 86 that. That's not true. So to justify or to further explain, he says, the only thing I can do when it comes to feedback, right? The only thing I can do is react. So let's say you're trying to practice oral communication. That's one of the competencies that you that you're trying to practice. So you're in the work environment, you're with people, you're in a meeting, you're one-on-one, okay, and you've learned about oral communication and stuff like that. I cannot then say, okay, let me give you some feedback about that. When this happened, this is what you could have done. When that happened, that may not have been the best thing to do because, oral communication says that you really need to be more vulnerable and open up. So, right. So I'm giving you feedback about you and your performance. Whereas what I really am doing, but I'm just wording it differently, I'm giving you feedback about me and how I reacted to what you did. Okay. That's the only thing I can do. I can't evaluate you as a person. I can only evaluate my reaction to whatever it is you're doing or not doing. Okay. Now, that has so many implications for the way we design and evaluate learning, doesn't it? Doesn't it have a lot of implications? If what I'm saying is, because one thing that we do religiously is that we want learners to evaluate the instructor, don't we? Yeah, we do that. So if you are working from Marcus Buckingham's idea, also my idea that you cannot evaluate another person, what kind of questions would you be asking? Like what would that even look like? And how would I know that I'm a good instructor, right? If I don't ask you directly, what do you think? Am I good or am I bad? Right? That takes some thought, right? And what you have to do, that's why evaluation criteria are so important. Okay? Criteria is just about that. It's about what is the immediate effect of what you're doing. So if you look at yourself, if you're an instructor or a facilitator, what is your function? Okay. What do instructors and facilitators do? Right. And then what's the effect that you would expect to see from that function? Just everything has a function. If you think of a hammer has a function. Okay. What is the function of a hammer? Okay. Now use it. Start hammering something. Okay. Now what's the immediate effect of that? Okay. That's what you want to know. What's the immediate effect? And that tells you whether or not the hammer is functioning the way that it was designed to function. Okay? So look at an instructor and facilitator. What's the function of an instructor and a facilitator? Okay? Instruct, facilitate. Now, what's the effect that you're getting? Is it just people sitting in the audience just staring at you? Maybe not, participating when you ask a question. Are they only doing what you're telling them to do? Okay, if that's a function of an instructor and a facilitator, then fine, you're good, you're golden. But if it isn't, then what more needs to happen in order for you to see the effects that you want to see or that you expect to see? And what effects are happening that you don't want to happen? Are people walking out of the room? Are they looking at their phones? So now that's not the only thing that you would look at. You would have different kinds of criteria, that go along with what you expect from whatever it is that you're doing. But so I really love this lie. I think it's absolutely amazing. And so it's one of the lies I wholeheartedly agree with. Let me get to the other one. So this is lie number 9. Leadership is a thing. Now I just did a talk on leadership competencies, where I made a differentiation between leader development and leadership development. Okay, where leader development is about you, the person, going through something. That's like your self-assessment, self-awareness, being that adaptive type learning, where you just look at yourself and how you react and how the way you think about some things, what your perspective is, right? So that's the leader. And then you have the leadership. So leadership is about the process, right? Okay, you're a leader. Leadership is about how you show up, in a particular context or an environment, as you function as a leader. Okay. So he says here that, so leadership is a thing. That's a lie, is what he's saying. Leadership is definable. So here's another lie, that leadership is definable in advance, and that you can create competencies of good leaders. So we see competencies all over the place. We base our programs, our leadership stuff, everything on competence, even the technical stuff, right? We want you to be able to have certain knowledge, skills, and abilities, and then you would be able to, to do those particular jobs or other things. So what he's saying is that actually that's not true. Like you can't. So let me just clarify that. It's kind of like if you say individuals, Americans over 65 years old are more susceptible to bone injuries or something. I'm totally making that up, but let's just say there's something like that. Okay. You can say that. You've done research, you've asked questions, you've looked at hospital records, you've done all this, this work and stuff, and you've come up with this statistic that Americans over 65 years old are more susceptible to bone injuries. Okay. But just because you have that does not mean you can point at one particular 65-year-old and say, you are more susceptible to bone injuries. Because you don't know that. There are so many variables that that individual person has. Just because they're 65 does not mean that they're more susceptible to that, right? So this is kind of like the same thing for leaders. You can say globally, we've done the research, we asked the questions, we did the surveys, and all that stuff, and we can tell you that leaders are able to lead well when they have these competencies. But you cannot look at one particular leader in whatever context he or she is or they is in and say, okay, these are the competencies you need in order to be effective and impactful and to make a difference. Can't say that, right? You can't, and that's what he's saying here. He's saying leaders don't share competencies like that. You can't point to every single leader and say you definitely have these 20 competencies or something. So he's saying the only thing that leaders have in common is followers. Now that one I don't agree with, okay? And that's just because of the way I define leader. I define leader as the ability to show up authentically, right? That's a leader, all right? And anybody can be a leader. A leader, with that definition, a leader does not need followers, okay? Because a leader is having the ability to, bring your whole self to every situation. All right. That's the way I see leaders. So I don't agree with that one, but that doesn't that doesn't affect, this other stuff. So what else did he says? All right. So now there are implications of that on this lie that leadership is a thing, right? If you think about it, if you subscribe to the idea that leadership is not a thing, everybody is not going to have the same competencies, or those same competencies won't be needed in every context or situation, right? It just changes with the person and the context that they're in. If you subscribe to that, how does that impact the way you design your learning? How does that impact what you look for when you're looking for data, information, and evidence to help determine whether or not what you're doing is in fact creating some kind of influence in the organization, in the group, on the team, whatever the scope of the evaluation is. So again, this is where your evaluation criteria come in, because you can say, okay, leadership is a thing. I don't agree with Marcus Buckingham, and I'm going to do it based on competencies. Or you can say, you know what, I'm not going to do that based on competencies. We're going to design this thing in a totally different way. Let's just throw the competencies out. And you can do that, okay? There's something called goal-free evaluation, right? That really helps to evaluate things like that. But anyway, that's a different thing. So either way, though, for whatever you think, This is still where evaluation criteria are helpful. And by criteria, I mean things like, so some of the criteria that I've created for another program that I'm working on are relevance, effectiveness, and knowledge. Now, when I told that person about the coaching, that you cannot evaluate a person, the way that I do and write about evaluation, the thing that's being evaluated every single time is the intervention, or the whatever you call it, or the program, the course, the project, whatever it is, right? That's called the evaluand. The evaluand is the thing that's being evaluated, and the evaluand is never a person. Okay? So it's like, so now the program or the project or the course, it takes on its own persona, okay? And it's there to function in a certain way. And what the criteria allow you to do is to look at the various aspects of or the things that the program values, right? And to see what kind of reaction you're getting out in the world. What kind of reaction is this program influencing in learners? What kind of reaction is it influencing in the learner supervisors? What kind of reaction is this program influencing in the instructors and the facilitators and the coaches and the mentors and whoever else you've included as a stakeholder, right? Whoever else you've included in, designing their interests into the evaluand, into the program. Okay. So for both of the lies, the first one is that people need feedback. That's a lie. And the other one is leadership is a thing. That's a lie, according to Marcus Buckingham. And I agree, again, I agree with both of them. But for each of those, right, whether you subscribe to it or not, evaluation criteria are the things that will help you still be able to get the information, the data, the descriptive stuff, the inferential stuff, all that you need in order to not for the evaluator, because the evaluator, that's none of your business, right? You don't need to be judging anything, because that's not your job. But to give over to stakeholders and say, okay, here are the facts, beliefs, opinions, feelings, regarding the effects of this program. Now you take this information and you make a decision about it. Okay, because again, evaluation information is for use. It's not to prove anything. It's for you leaders to use. It's for the learners to use. It's for the people who sent the learners to the training to use. It's for their peers to use, the colleagues. It's for them to use to make their own judgments and decisions about the evaluand or the program. All right, so these are just two of the lies that I wanted to talk about. I looked at the other ones, but I'm not sure if I want to say anything about those. I may, I don't know. But I've subscribed to other people, and I listen to other podcasts. So what I'm going to do is just bring some of that information in, and then make sure you all know about these things, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's going on that I think it would be really good for us as learning, development, and evaluation professionals to know, to tap into, to listen to, and to comment on. Okay, so we can co-create some stuff here. Okay, again, I'm going to go and celebrate my birthday. So please comment if you have any comments, and I'll be happy to to respond. But again, like and subscribe to Ypifany so that we can, when I go live, you guys can see that, and then we can have live conversations. We can get get a conversation going. It's a lot more fun that way. So I'll see you later. Bye.